Hi class, today we are looking at the introduction to Chapter 2, titled A Spanish Colony in California. Our essential question is, what changes did Spanish explorers bring to California? In this chapter, you'll read about the events that occurred when Spaniards came from Europe and explored California. You'll learn about their plan for Alta California and how it affected the lives of the California Indians. The chapters are Chapter 1, we've got the Spanish explorers in California. Chapter 2, Spain's plan for a colony. Chapter 3, mission life. And Chapter 4, Spanish influence on the region. Let's take a look at the timeline at the bottom here. So it says step into time, chronological thinking. Look at the timeline. What other events were happening around the world when the Spaniards arrived in California? So in 1504, Cortez sails from Spain to present-day Mexico to find gold. And around that same time, in 1517, Portuguese ships sail around Africa to reach China. In 1608, Frenchmen arrive in the New World and found Quebec in Canada. On the next page, we've got things happening in the 1700s. In 1763, the French and Indian War ends, giving Great Britain control of North America east of the Mississippi. Shortly thereafter, the Sacred Expedition begins in 1769. 1777, the first pueblo in California is established. 1781, William Herschel discovers the planet Uranus with a telescope. 1798, Mission San Luis Rey is founded, and in 1808, importing slaves into the United States is banned. Let's take a look at the map here. Now, as you recall from our previous maps, this right here is the legend, and this is the scale. So this much distance on the map equals 150 miles. This shows that the dark colored buildings are missions. The white colored ones are presidios. The grayish ones are pueblos. El Camino Real is the red dotted line. The solid black line is the present day boundary, like right here, the boundary between California and Nevada. And the gold right here is mission lands, and you'll see that spread throughout the state. The Mystery on the California Mission Trail. This story is an excerpt, and it's written by Carol Marsh. Let's take a look at the first paragraph. During the drive to Mission La Purisima, which was near where John and his family lived, John described the California missions. The central focus of each mission is the church, he explained. The missions were founded to instruct the early inhabitants of the land in the Catholic faith. The California Indians were to become neophytes, newly baptized Catholics, to learn Spanish and to work at the missions. Building missions was a way to get new citizens and land for Spain. Missionaries and soldiers traveled together, so both a mission and presidio, or fort, were built, John continued. They had a hard time as they made their way into California. They got lost. They died from scurvy and other diseases because they lacked healthy food. And they suffered bad weather, heat, and exhaustion. In fact, many times, 2 expeditions were sent to the same place, one by land and one by sea. That way, if one group got lost or perished, which was fairly likely back then, there was still a chance the other group would make it. Did the Indians like the new missions? Christina asked. At first, the Indians did not know what to make of the strangers, John said. They wandered around the new mission, often stealing whatever they could carry. Father Junipero Serra, who helped found the first missions, believed the mission should continue to try to make friends with the Indians, but the soldiers did not. The soldiers killed many Indians. Eventually, the mission and the presidio were separated to keep them from killing the Indians. But after Indians attacked the unprotected mission, the mission moved back to the safety of the presidio. This same pattern was repeated at other missions. When they pulled up at Mission La Purisima, Grant and Christina stared wide-eyed out the navigator's windows. All around them were gardens and orchards and animals, and people who looked as if they were transported out of a scene from 100 years ago. In the middle of all this activity stood a long adobe church covered in red clay roof tiles. A few small arched windows dotted the side of the building. A taller section of wall on one end had 3 openings where 3 bells should have hung. A cross topped the roof above the empty bell alcoves. Mimi laughed at the kids' astonished expressions and said, "Get out and explore, you two. See what California mission life was like 200+ years ago." Christina and Grant slid out of the vehicle. As soon as they landed on the ground, 2 dark-haired girls waved and ran up to them. "Hi, Christina. Hi, Grant," the girls said together. "I'm Maria, and this is my sister Clara," said the slightly taller girl. "Maria and Clara are excited to have visitors," said John. "We don't get too many kids here that stay for more than a one-day visit, do we?" he asked, looking fondly at his daughters. Each girl smiled and shook her head at their dad, then turned back to Christina and Grant. "Do you want to meet the docents?" asked Clara. "They're the people in costume," explained Maria. "We can watch them spin and weave wool and make candles. Grant, you'd like the blacksmith shop, I'll bet," she added. Here's a picture right here of some girls working with wool. Grant and Christina turned and looked at Mimi, who gave them a little nod. "Sure," Christina said, and they all 4 turned and jogged across the field. Suddenly, Grant turned and ran back to the car. He leaned into the back seat and grabbed the red backpack that Uncle Michael had given him. He hooked the straps across his shoulders and ran back to catch up with the girls. Maria chattered nonstop, and Clara nodded her head vigorously as they took Christina and Grant on a tour of the mission. "This is the most completely restored mission in California," said Maria. "After the earthquake of 1812, not a single building was standing. But the California Conservation Corps built it back just like the original, and now it's a state park. Our dad is a ranger here, and we live in a casa right across the street," Clara said proudly. Grant and Christina explored the mission with Maria and Clara as their own personal tour guides for the rest of the afternoon. All right, now we're going to take a look at some people that you should know. Juan Bautista de Anza is our first guy here, followed by Charles III, Gaspar de Portola, and Junipero Serra. I'm going to zoom in here so we can take a look at their faces. Now, this Charles III kind of looks like me a little bit here. Maybe I should start wearing a wig. Actually, Gaspar's wearing a wig too, isn't he? Well, I'll be. Okay, let's take a look here. So Juan Bautista de Anza. Well, he was a soldier. He lived in Mexico at a presidio named Tubac. The missions and settlements in Alta California were far away, and it was dangerous to travel there by sea. In 1774, Juan explored an overland route through the deserts. He led 200 men, women, children, and 1,000 head of livestock on a dangerous journey. In 1776, they founded a settlement that today is San Francisco. King Charles III. Well, Charles became king of Spain at a difficult time. Other countries had challenged Spain's fortunes in the New World. Charles was determined to return Spain and its colonies to its former glory. He joined with France to stop Great Britain's advances in the New World. However, France was defeated, and so was Spain. He turned to improving the colonies by opening trade routes between them and Spain. He also reorganized the administration of the colonies under his control and greatly improved their management. Next, we have Gaspar de Portola. Well, Gaspar, he spent 30 years as a soldier fighting for Spain in Europe. He became the governor of California Colony in 1767. Not long after his arrival, he organized an expedition to establish missions in Upper California. He left in 1767 and joined another expedition in San Diego. After establishing a mission, de Portola left to find the Bay of Monterey. He found it, but didn't realize he had been successful until he came upon San Francisco Bay. Long before Junipero Serra came to New Spain, he was famous for his impressive willpower and intelligence. He was a professor of theology at a young age and displayed enormous strength. He forced himself to walk 200 miles from Veracruz to Mexico City when he came to the New World. In founding the mission at Diego in 1769, he faced starvation, disease, and dangerous surroundings. His successes helped the Spanish missions to succeed. And let's zoom out again and take a look at these guys here. All right, we'll be looking at them more in depth as we get further into this chapter. All right, boys and girls, as always, we'll see you soon.